Ian Winder and Justices of the Supreme Court. In the matter of the commemorative sitting of the Supreme Court to mark the passing of Harvey O.Tynes KC.
We pair with Ms. Rutherford Ferguson, who I think will move the motion.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, Ms.
In anticipation of the condolences and tributes that will follow, I will be brief and yield my time in favor of those who are here among us. Today's sitting is particularly significant. For the first time, we convene this commemorative sitting of the Supreme Court of the Northern Bar. The Bahamas Bar Association was pleased to support that request, recognizing the importance of honoring our departed colleagues within the communities in which they lived, served, and contributed so meaningfully. My Lord, I also rise on the association who was unable to be present due to travel, and I am honored as Vice President to move these motions on his behalf. Our colleagues to commemorate today dedicated themselves to the practice of law, often at great personal sacrifice. And they did this in service to this country, an indelible mark on the communities that they served. Their passing is felt not only within our own legal community, but across their contributions. On behalf of the Bahamas Bar Council and the members and staff of the Bahamas Bar Association, I extend our deep condolences to the families. My Lord, I move that the record of the Supreme Court of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas note the passing of Mr. Harvey O.Tynes KC, admitted to the bar on the 8th day of January, 1975, who passed away on the 23rd of July, 1988, who passed away on the 1st day of October, 2025. Mr. John T. May it please the court.
Thank you, Ms. Rutherford Ferguson. Mr. Gomez, King's Counsel.
If it pleases you, learned friends, all but family. I met Harvey O.Tynes in the early 2000s, and he invited me to meet with Carolyn St. George, and he said that and I attended the meeting, and that was the beginning of a long friendship. We spoke almost every day. I called him, and if he thought I was too late in calling me, he would call me. And he asked about my parents and my family. And then he would talk about the law and mine. We, in fact, appeared together in a Privy Council case for a chap by the name of Skinner. It was a contract matter involving labor issues. And we also worked for the Bahamas Hotel Catering and Allied Workers Union. It was the first time that the union would actually put your name forward to be voted on by the membership. And Harvey was a standing feature of, and I came to be his sidekick, so to speak, in all of those matters. I think we were in court for the back part of 4 years, dealing with all sorts of trade union matters that had become litigious. So I came to have a very close professional relationship with Mr. O.Tynes. In his later years, he, particularly after the pandemic, seldom visited Nassau. Not that he was ever keen on visiting Nassau. And oftentimes he would come in the morning and leave at the first possible opportunity to return to Freeport. I am returning to Harvey was a lawyer's lawyer. He was both erudite, learned, and keen to learn. And to share what he had read and what his experiences had taught him. We are all the better for that. He could be irascible. That was the nature of his ferocity. And on the outside, one might be mistaken about him because in spite of his height and size, he gave the impression that he would not shirk from a good fight. when I say good fight, but physical, not that he was that type of person, but you could, but I would not use the language he would use. Members of the bar who are well aware of him know of his ferocity of speech. But that belied a commitment to justice, fairness, and decency. We will miss him.
Hannah Adley, to speak on behalf of Jethlyn Musgrove-Burrows.
My sister and brother, judges, members of the legal fraternity, the families of the love and career was languages and education, not the legal profession. In 1978, she earned the following year, she completed her postgraduate certificate in education at the University of London's London Institute of Education. Jethlyn began her professional life as a teacher of English, Spanish, and French at C.H. Reeves Secondary School, while also instructing adult learners at the Bahamas Evening Institute and the Bahamas Hotel Training College. Jethlyn did not stop there. She also obtained a Master of Science in Education from the University of Miami in 1982. Always a seeker of knowledge, Jethlyn's second professional love and devotion was to the law. And so she came to the study of law as a matured student. We are all here this morning to pay tribute to her distinguished legal career. In 1984, Jethlyn embarked on a new career path. She began her articles of clerkship at the Nassau law firm of Bostwick and Bostwick Chambers. And after that, in 1988, she was called to the Bahamas bar and began a legal career that would span over 30 years. After working at Bostwick and Bostwick, she joined the Ministry of Consumer Affairs as an executive officer. Jethlyn then went on to work at the Registrar General's Department, first in Nassau and then in Freeport, where she established and headed the new office. This could only have happened with the confidence and support of her then superior, the late Mrs. Kelvin Cunningham. Under Jethlyn's leadership, the new office functioned efficiently and made incorporating companies, birth and death certificates, and many other services hitherto only provided in the capital, available to law firms and the public alike. Never content with staying stationary for too long, Jethlyn then became a stipendian circuit magistrate for 8 Mile Rock and then in the city of Freeport. Next followed her appointment as a deputy registrar of the Supreme Court, not only hearing matters, but responsible for the administration of the Supreme Court of the Bahamas Industrial Tribunal. Throughout her judicial and administrative service, Jethlyn was known for her keen integrity, sense of fairness, dignity, empathy, and compassion. She believed in doing what was not. What always struck me about Jethlyn was her ability to see the humor in just about everything. And we were talking after the passing of her beloved Gary, and Jethlyn told us a joke. Even in those, she remembered Andrew saying, whispering, "Mummy, what is that?" And felt her cheek, one of the lashes had taken residence on the rise of her cheek. And Jethlyn just almost squawked with laughter, and so did she could find humor in everything. Her glass was always half full, never half empty. And this was even so after the passing of Gary in January of last year. In 2011, Jethlyn retired from the Industrial Tribunal and returned to private practice, first as a partner at Meridian Law Chambers and later in 2016 as managing partner of her own firm, Musgrove-Burrows Law Chambers. Through her firm, Jethlyn provided services in the areas of employment law, family law, real estate, criminal law, and civil matters. Jethlyn became a mentor to and trained many junior lawyers. Jethlyn's clients loved and respected her and appreciated her willingness to go the extra mile to achieve success for them. Jethlyn was a passionate advocate before the courts and the Industrial Tribunal. I remember the last little disagreement we had in a family matter in which she appeared before me. I agreed to allow the other side to file, well, it appears as though I was going to allow the other side to file an answer and cross petition out of time. Well, Jethlyn Musgrove-Burrows was not having that, if she could help it. And so she argued vigorously why I should not grant them leave. Well, she did not prevail because they had been 1 day late in the filing, and I felt that was not an egregious delay. And so I assured her she would get her costs. That was not enough. I indicated which way I was going with the costs, and that certainly was not enough. And she launched into argument after argument with the other side, who was arguing back at this point. And then she looked up and she saw that I had gone very quiet, was silent, and I was giving her the look that said, you need to stop before you really lose the ground that you have. And so she looked at me and she said, but milady, I'm guided. Now, I'll tell you all, she did convince me to increase the costs. And so she did her job. She did her job for her client. Jethlyn belonged to, in her early years, in the study of law, the Bahamas Law Students Association, the Bahamas Bar Association, and later Commonwealth Magistrates and Judges Association. Jethlyn was a dedicated and passionate member, I think most of you reporters know, of the International Federation of Women Lawyers, FIDA, for over 30 years, having served as president of FIDA Grand Bahama twice and as president of FIDA International from 2014 to 2017. Never content to stop learning, Jethlyn obtained a diploma in international arbitration from the Chartered Institute of Arbitrators, London, and in 2021 became, along with myself and a few others I see seated before me, a fellow of the Institute, assisting the Bahamas in becoming the country in the region with the highest amount of fellows per capita, with 16 fellows in total. I met Jethlyn in 1992 when she came to set up the court. And the first day I met her, she needed a ride home. And so I said, sure. And I took her to their first home. And at the same, it was after 5, I met the boys who were little, very little at the time. And my daughter is a little younger than Andrew. And they are all warriors, Report High, BMES warriors. And so I met them then, and I met Gary for the first time. And I observed this family, the husband and wife, and I said, are these people for real? It's genuine. And over time, I came to know that it was genuine. the love for each other and the children. Jethlyn's untimely passing was a blow to her family and a great loss to the profession. She will be missed. May her soul rest in peace and ride with glory. Thank you.
Thank you, Justice Hannah Adley. Mr. Hamilton?
Yes. May it please your lordship, I rise this morning with a heavy heart, yet with deep gratitude to pay tribute to a friend and colleague of more than 20 years, Mr. John Trevor Kemp. I do so to honor his life, to reflect on his contributions to the Bar of the Bahamas, and finally to extend heartfelt condolences to his family who are present with us today. John Trevor Kemp, or Trevor as we knew him or as he was affectionately called, was born to the late Mr. Kevin Kemp and to his devoted mother, Mrs. Teresita Kemp. He was the second child of this loving union, following his brother Kevin, who stands with us today in shared remembrance. Trevor was raised in a home grounded in love, discipline, and strong values. His parents instilled in him the virtues of integrity, kindness, and dedication, qualities that became the hallmarks of his personal and professional life. His educational journey reflected both his intellect and his drive. Trevor began his educational journey right here in Grand Bahama at Mary Star of the Sea Catholic School. He continued at Freeport Anglican High and later attended the College of the Bahamas, the University of Buckingham in England, and the Eugene Depute Law School. Along the way, he earned his high school diploma, an Associate of Arts degree in Law and Criminal Justice, a Bachelor's of Law degree, and a Certificate of Legal Education. But Trevor was never simply a student. He was a leader. At the College of the Bahamas, he was a Dean's List Scholar, a Senator for Student Services, and a member of the steering committee that established the first branch of COVIS. At the University of Buckingham, he served as an executive officer and later vice president of the Law Society. He was a student member of the Honorable Society of Middle Temple, and he contributed to the Constitutional Commission Committee at the Eugene Depute Law School. These roles were not mere titles. They were early signs of the commitment, discipline, and service that would define his legal career. Professionally, Trevor served with distinction. After completing his legal studies, he worked at the Office of the Attorney General, at Depute and Turnquest, and at K. Brian Hannah's Chambers. At the time of his passing, he held the post of Assistant Registrar General of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, a role that he executed with diligence, diplomacy, and unwavering loyalty. Trevor's colleagues will remember him not only for his competence, but for his character. He had the rare ability to fuse tension with a smile, a joke, or a perfectly timed comment. He was dependable, warm-hearted, and always willing to lend a hand. His humor was never at anyone's expense. It was a gift that he used to lift others. His legacy, therefore, is not only in the work he did, but in the joy he brought, in the friendships he nurtured, in the loyalty he showed, in the lightness he carried, even in difficult moments. Trevor touched the lives of his family, his friends, his colleagues, the wider legal community, and yes, even the Pittsburgh Steelers fan club, of which he was a proud and enthusiastic member. His passing leaves a void that cannot be filled, but his memory leaves a warmth that will not fade. Today, I extend deepest condolences to his mother, Ms. Teresita Kemp, to his brother Kevin Kemp, to the entire Kemp family, to the University of Buckingham family, and to all who loved him here in Freeport and throughout the Bahamas. May his soul rest in peace, and may his memory continue to be a blessing to all of us who have the privilege of knowing him. Rest in peace, John Trevor Kemp.
Hamilton. I wish to extend my gratitude to Ms. Krista Rutherford Ferguson for so ably moving the several motions today, for which I now formally accede to. Let me begin by offering my deepest condolences to the families of the late Harvey O.Tynes, Musgrove-Burrows, and John Trevor Kemp. The loss of your loved ones is a profound personal sorrow, yet it is also a collective grief for us all, for they were cherished members of our wider legal fraternity. Upon being called to the bar, each of them entered into a noble fellowship, an exclusive family bound by tradition, fidelity, and mutual respect. In this family, though often pitted against each other in the adversarial pursuit of justice, we are guided by a code that demands civility and collegiality. Fierce gladiators in the courtroom arena, beyond its walls, they are colleagues, confidants, and friends. The solemnity of today's commemorative sitting reflects another of our traditions. In March of each year, we pause to memorialize and honor the lives of our brothers and sisters who have departed during the preceding year. This year, separate ceremonies are being held for the first time. Today's ceremony follows the service held on the 6th of March to honor fallen colleagues from New Providence. The three lawyers we memorialize today represent a significant loss not only to the profession, but to the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Their careers spanned distinguished public service: a former acting justice of the Supreme Court, a King's Counsel, a vice president of the Industrial Tribunal, magistrate, deputy registrar of the Supreme Court, and an assistant registrar general. Each, in their own way, gave themselves in the service of the public good. This occasion allows us to reflect upon shared memories, moments in the courtroom arena, in the war rooms, and the many social interactions that enriched our fellowship. I had the privilege of knowing each of them in some capacity. My connection to some was closer than to others, but all left an indelible mark. The late Harvey O.Tynes, King's Counsel, was by every measure a formidable legal giant. Admitted to the bar in 1975, his career was one that many could only aspire to. Appointed Queen's Counsel, co-chair of the 2002 Constitutional Review Commission, and acting Justice of the Supreme Court, his breadth of knowledge was extraordinary. He truly loved the law, and his passion was evident in every discussion, every case, every principle he dissected. I first encountered him in a medical negligence case in 1999-2000, shortly after joining Christy Davis & Co. Though adversaries in that matter, I learned immensely from him. He was generous with his insights, and from that point forward, I considered him as one of my mentors. In the early 2000s, while managing my firm's Freeport office, I often joined Harvey, Norris Carroll, and Rufus Allen for their breakfast discussions at Geneva's restaurant. Later, when I joined the bench, Harvey appeared before me on numerous occasions. Our relationship was candid, frank, and deeply valued. He was respected by all, admired for his willingness to guide younger counsel, and celebrated as the pride of Grand Bahama and, more importantly, of his family. Jethlyn Musgrove-Burrows was another pillar of the Grand Bahama legal community. A former international and local president of the International Federation of Women Lawyers, vice president of the Industrial Tribunal, magistrate and deputy registrar of the Supreme Court, she embodied service and leadership. Aptly described upon her passing as a prominent attorney and civic leader, she was often the organizer, the one who ensured order, purpose, and direction. Hers was a life of service, worthy of honor and remembrance. My interactions with John Kemp were fewer, limited mostly to bar events. Yet his passing, and now having heard Mr. Hamilton, I regret I did not know him better. At a relatively young age, his passing was deeply saddening. His absence is felt keenly by those who knew him better, by the fraternity as a whole. Together, Harvey, Jethlyn, and John were cherished members of our legal family. Though gone from us physically, their memories endure in our social engagements, our professional confrontations, and our shared fellowship. I close with these words of comfort from the book of Revelations, chapter 21, verses 1 to 4. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. For the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, "Look, God's dwelling place is now among the people. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away." I therefore order that the records of this court formally note the passing of counsel and attorneys of the Supreme Court of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, Harvey O.Tynes, Jethlyn Musgrove-Burrows, and John Kemp. A transcript of these proceedings shall be made available to the families of our fallen colleagues.
A reading from the Word of God, taken from the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verses 1 through 12. There is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up which is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to bring down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to get and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to rent and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. What profit hath he that worketh? In what thou wearest he laboureth. I have seen the trouble which God hath given to the sons of men who be exercised in. He hath made everything beautiful in his hand. Also he hath set the world in their heart, so that no man can find out the work that God made it from the beginning to the end. I know that there is no good in that, but for a man to rejoice and to do good in his life.
Thank you, Ms. Roper. Please join me in observing a moment of silence in honor of our fallen colleagues. These proceedings are now at an end.